Hi, welcome to Product Mastery Now, where we simplify the 7 knowledge areas for product mastery. These are the topics, the areas that help product managers and innovators really deliver on the value that customers want, creating products that the customers love, and in the process, helping you level up your career and having more influence in the organization. To see all 7, simply go to my website. That's productmasterynow.com. I'm Chad McAllister, your host. I'm a product management professor, practitioner, and glad to be doing this podcast with you. This is the second time I'm recording because unfortunately I had my microphone off the first time. Nonetheless, PDMA is the Product Development and Management Association, and they have this body of knowledge that they've been curating since 1976, which is a very long time. And that's what my 7 knowledge areas for product mastery are based on. They have an annual conference as well, and this is a conference I do my very best to not miss. The next one coming up is September 14th to 17th. It will be in St. Louis, Missouri. If you're listening to this later, that's September 14th to 17th, 2024. Usually the conferences are in September, any given year you want to hear this. But I hope you have the opportunity to check this out. And if you come, please say hi. I'd be glad to meet you. I will be there working on a few things with the conference as well. It's a great opportunity to learn what practitioners are doing. And also there's a research front end of this to learn what researchers are doing in the area of innovation as well. So if you want to find out more about this, simply go to Product Development Management Association's website. That's pdma.org. So pdma.org. So hoping to see you there. Okay, we're diving into the next knowledge area. I'm doing a series on the 7 knowledge areas for product mastery. And I do love this one we're looking at, which is process, product innovation process itself. And by the way, although you might be listening to this, there is a video version of this as well available on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and do a search on Product Mastery Now, same name as the podcast, you'll find the videos. And I'm showing visuals as I talk through these concepts, and that might help make a little more sense of this, but I'll do my best so it makes sense if you're just listening. But process is an area that's really important for us. And my first encounter, my growing appreciation for process occurred when I was a software project manager. So my background is electrical engineering. I joined a company that moved from the work I was doing at the time, which was radar analysis, into software work. And that's not because I'm an amazing programmer. I went on that ride. I'm not at all. But I turned out to be the guy that was pretty good at talking to customers and figuring out what they wanted and what would create value for them, and then leading a software team and delivering that. But I'm new to the software leading job, right? What does a software project manager actually do? So I was learning as fast as I possibly could about project management disciplines and about software development frameworks. And there was this great book. This was a bit ago now. He was an employee at Microsoft. Steve McConnell wrote this book on software development life cycles. And it was this huge, thick, Bible of software development life cycles. And had everything you can imagine in it, that at least I could imagine, the standard waterfall, spiral, V, rapid prototyping, iterative approaches, all kinds of ways to think about how do we develop software, right, as a team together. And myself and a mentor I had at the time who was very helpful, we looked at this. I put together what I thought was a good approach. He added some ideas. And we came up with, and this was through trial and error, right? But we came up with an approach where we did work in 2-week cycles, right? So we knew all the things based on our understanding of the customer that needed to be done. And then as a team, we would identify what we're going to work on for the next 2 weeks. And on Fridays, and at the end of that was an important demonstration, but every Friday we would have some sort of demonstration about what we got done, right? What the team accomplished. And the customer was involved as much as we could, right, in our facility as we're working and during those demonstration periods too. And so what we had come up with is probably something we would think very much about as Scrum these days. But this was years before Scrum was written about and talked about. And it's simply because many of us as practitioners were in the same boat. We were trying to figure out a more effective way to be developing software. And this process that we came up with based on really all the ideas I stole from Steve McConnell's book was really helpful. And process gives us a way to be more effective and efficient, right, doing our work together. So let's look at product innovation processes that are useful for a product manager developing something new. And in this knowledge area, there's several topics covered. We'll just hit a few of these, but certainly an introduction to processes in general and what does it mean to do product innovation. A tool called the Product Innovation Charter, which many people say are really helpful, so I'll cover that today. And then several specific product development processes, methodologies for developing an idea into something that we make available to customers. And then there's some information in this knowledge area for comparing those processes and identifying which ones may work better for your organization and the kinds of problems that you deal with. And also some process control suggestions as well for improving this work as you work with your team. So let's dive into just an overview here first about product innovation process. What is this thing? And I'll start with a definition from Ken Khan. If I say that too quickly, it might sound like King Kong, but it's not. Dr. Ken Khan, he's a university dean and innovation professor. I actually met him at a PDMA conference some years ago. He describes innovation process as a disciplined and defined set of tasks and steps that describe the normal and appropriate means by which an organization repetitively converts embryonic ideas into sellable products or services, right? So the key steps here, key points of this are those steps, right? What are the steps that we take that turn those beginning ideas into something that creates value for a customer in the form of a product, right? So we're thinking about the steps to go from idea to valuable product for a customer. And Bob Cooper, we talked about Bob a little bit when we did the portfolio management overview. Cooper has contributed a lot of information to portfolio management, and more generally, how do you create products that actually win the attention of your customers? And I like this analogy that he shares, that this product development process is kind of like gambling, right? That this process that evaluates the risk versus reward equation throughout the work that we do. And playing poker is not a bad analogy for this. And basically, the process here is a risk management process, right? Where we have a couple rules, simple rules to keep in mind. One is if the uncertainties are high, we want to keep the stakes low, right? In the beginning, when we don't have a lot of information specifically about how to deliver value to the customer, we may not really even understand the depths of the customer's problem well at this point. We want to make small investments to learn. And so, uncertainty is high, keep the investments, keep the stakes low, what you have in the poker pot. At the same time, as the uncertainties decrease, then the amount at stake can be increased. As we learn more about what actually needs to be developed, then it can make sense to make those investments larger and get that product put together. What I like about this analogy is that it recognizes that there's always risk, right? Even the best gamblers, they're not going to win all the time. Some of the time they lose. And the same is true for us as product professionals. We're not always going to deliver the thing that actually wins, but we want to stack things in our favor and recognize when we should be getting knowledge and use our resources appropriately. And it's simple to think about that. If you look at a graph where we're thinking about our total costs spent on a product project over time, as those costs, in the very beginning, those costs we want to be very low when we're examining the idea, right? What is the opportunity? And when we get to the point where we're maybe developing some prototypes and we're validating our solution and we make that decision, we're going to go in on developing this product for real, we're ramping up the amount of costs involved over time. So those cumulative costs grow, especially, really rapidly once we start real development going on. But at the same time that's going on, we have low costs in the beginning. That's because we have high uncertainty in the beginning, right? And so any kind of process we're looking at, innovation process here to develop that product, over time, we want to be decreasing the uncertainty as we're going through that process. We want to be gaining knowledge and decreasing uncertainty at the same time we recognize we're doing more work that's increasing our cost. So we're being aware of that risk-reward equation as we're doing work together. Let's move on to another topic that is the PIC. The PIC stands for the Product Innovation Charter. And PDMA, they describe this as being the heart of any organized effort to commercialize, that just means to launch, to commercialize a new product. And the PIC is a very useful tool. And it says charter in the name, the Product Innovation Charter. And if you're familiar with project management disciplines, a project charter is something that is recommended to create when we initialize a new project. And a product charter gives us some direction about, overall, what's this project about? Who are the stakeholders that are involved? Maybe some high-level information about budget and general timeline and the like. A product innovation charter makes this more specific for doing product work. And it's a short document. We're talking 1 to 3 pages here to describe what should be in a PIC. And there's 4 sections, 4 areas to address. And those are the background, focus arena, goals and objectives, and special guidelines. And I'll talk through what each one of those are briefly. And to help me remember what those 4 areas are, I just like this acronym, BAG, right? And I think of PIC, because it's P-I-C, PIC, pick up the bag, where BAG is spelled B-A-G-G, for the background, arena, goals, and guidelines. Pick up the bag. I need these things to help me remember. Okay, when we think of background, some things that might go into that is, why is our company pursuing this? Why is this a project? And, some validation of the project. Why is this important to us? The scope of the project itself, what big picture is involved. The role of the project team in achieving the project's goals, and maybe we might get into some more constraints on that later. Specific project constraints are helpful. These are things like the resources available, the funding we have, maybe a manufacturing schedule if we're making something physical, marketing that's available, and the like. The current and future state of any key technologies that might be involved. And we'll talk about technologies under arena as well, which might be, maybe this project exists to take advantage of something that is emerging. But part of the background, technologies that we know we want to use, that could include maybe a platform we already have in place to build upon in the organization. And then the greater context for this project, right? Any project exists inside a larger context, which the business also operates in. And understanding aspects of that business is helpful. External factors, our competitors, regulations, and the like that might impact things. And then the focus arena. When I hear the word arena, I think of like a stage, right? Like we're going to a show. Maybe it's a sporting arena or a theater show or something. So it's where things take place. So in the arena is our target market. Who are we serving, right? Who's the focus of the show, or the game that's being played, so to speak. Key technologies that will be involved are part of the arena, and marketing as well, right? The things that are going to underpin the project's success. And then strengths and weaknesses of our competitors, that's part of the arena that we play in, so to speak, right? That we're competing for the attention of our customers, competing against competitors. So there's this notion that we're playing in this arena. And we want to be aware of our competitors to a reasonable extent and how we can do a good job of taking advantage of our capabilities and our competitive advantages to position our work better. Next up are goals and objectives. And each goal or objective should be specific and measurable because we want to know if we're hitting them, right? We want to understand what success looks like and if we've made it or not. You've heard of SMART goals, SMART objectives. That's what we're talking about. So we need specific goals related to how this project contributes to the business strategy, right? Those business objectives. So for example, if we have a business objective that is in terms of increasing the percentage of market share, maybe an existing market or penetration in a new market, that would be an objective. We want to understand how the specific project is related to meeting those objectives. So a good thing to have in the goals part of the PIC. Also, our business operation goals for this project, right? Are we trying to move the needle on profit, maybe sales volume, reducing cost of something and cost of processes and what we do, increase throughput, whatever those operational type goals are that this project can relate to. And then the specific project-related objectives. And for this project, they might be, the budget aspects, the time to launch. And we may have some objectives that are, process improvement type objectives, like compared to the last project that we did, Can we decrease that time to launch? Are there other ways to improve the efficiency of our resources? And then on to the special guidelines, or just for the bag part, the G for guidelines. Guidelines we can think about as the project team itself and how they work together, how they communicate, how they hold each other accountable, kind of just the culture of that team and what's expected. Reporting requirements for the project, which stakeholders need what information, how we do that, the frequency and the like. Project expenditure responsibilities, how we're keeping track of our costs and comparing that to budget, if we have budget, which we usually do. There might be some external agencies that are guidelines that provide constraints for us, such as regulatory bodies that we need to involve or be accountable to. And then maybe some specific aspects that are related to the quality of the product or other constraints we're trying to hit, like a time to launch or a key milestone that we need to align with. So that's the pick, right? Those 4 areas: the background, focus arena, so let's just say arena, goals of the project, and then guidelines. So pick up the bag to remember that. And it's been fascinating to me as I teach companies about this tool when I'm training product managers. The most frequent comment is like, we don't start projects with anything like that, right? They may not even have a project charter for the project management part, but they don't have a single short document, right? 1, 2, maybe 3 pages. 1 to 2 pages is great, that describes what the product is about that's coming out of this project and provides that background and the arena in terms of who we're serving, who is our customer. And even that point, I have found great confusion on inside companies where people on a project and stakeholders, like key vice presidents, directors related to a project, have difference of opinion about who the customer is, right? So let's make that clear up front. Goals that we're supposed to be accomplishing and guidelines or constraints that we're dealing with. Putting together a pick can be really helpful when you're starting a new project, and it's a great collaboration tool. This is a tool to keep everyone on the same page, so to speak, right? Keep everyone having the same vision in mind for what this product is about. And so I would encourage you to just take a moment then and think about the work that you're doing right now, and especially if you have a project that is starting, or maybe a project where where you think that everyone's not on the same page, but I almost bet you on any given project, if we're not really focusing on trying to make it very clear what this project is about, what kind of product we're delivering, everyone's not on the same page. And so this is a really useful tool if you're coming into an existing project, right? To just take the 20 minutes to draft out these areas and then use it as a collaboration tool and make it better with each other. And it will pull people together to understand what the project actually is about. So adding that can be quite helpful. A lot of people have responded that they found good value in doing so. Okay, we have a number of development processes in this knowledge area. And there are others that could be covered, but this gives a good variation of what's possible. And I'll just list them, and then we'll spend our time just focusing a little bit on a couple. The StageGate process itself, the waterfall method, concurrent engineering, IPD, which is integrated product development, Agile product innovation, Agile StageGate, systems engineering, design thinking, lean product innovation, lean startup, jobs would be done. There's many variations on these, and then there's others as well. But those processes provide a good overview, really, of what is possible. And any one of those contains concepts and tools and practices that will help an organization do a better job delivering on a product, going from an idea to a delivered product. Okay, so introduction to a few of these processes to just help us think through what these are. And I'm going to start with StageGate because this one is found in some form in most organizations. Formally, in 80% of the Fortune 500, StageGate is being used. And StageGate simply means we're doing work in stages. So we do a bit of work, and then there's some decisions to be made after we do that work before we move to the next stage. So a straightforward process. This is not something that the creators of StageGate, which happened to be Bob Cooper and some other researchers, they just sit down and say, oh, this is how innovation is going to occur, and we're going to roll this out and tell the world this is how you should do it. No, what they did was they went to the companies that were doing the best job. They were performing well, creating new products for customers and seeing the rewards of that, and examined what they did. And across the board, there was a StageGate sort of process in place. So this is why so many organizations use it today, because it just makes sense to use. And StageGate can take different forms. I'm going to talk through the standard 5-stage model. This is the most frequently encountered model. But fundamentally, what StageGate is doing is trying to manage risk throughout the process, back to that risk-reward sort of equation. And consequently, if we have a project that has low risk, we probably don't need 5 stages, right? So maybe 3 stages is fine. If we have a project that has high risk, then maybe we want to break this up a little bit more and have more stages. So you'll find in practice that this varies a great deal. But let me talk through the 5 stages a bit and how these kind of work. So first up, we have discovery. And the names vary a little bit, but these are like the classic names for StageGate. So the first stage is discovery, where we're simply looking for those ideas for new products, right? The opportunities that we have to create value for customers. And this could be a new to us product that we don't offer customers yet, or maybe we're doing a improvement project where we're taking an existing product and we're getting ready for the next version of it, and we're doing examination work, customer research work to discover how can we make our product better for them, right? So this applies to both new products to us and improvements as well for the customer. So discovery, how do we come up with those ideas in the beginning? And then scoping is the next stage. And this is a really quick look at the market opportunity, maybe new technology that's available for us and technical requirements and the capabilities that we have that are available. Does it make sense for us to do this work? Are we prepared to do the work that is necessary? And then on to a business case is stage 3. And some form of business case usually exists in organizations before they're deciding to make larger investments in this project. This is why we have stage gates, because we're trying to spend little dollars in the very beginning and doing things quickly, right? So discovery stage, new opportunities, getting that quickly determined, scoping to find out, is there really a problem here that is worth solving and does it make sense for us to solve it? And then the business case to justify, make a justification to the organization that this is a project that we should continue compared to the other things, other opportunities the company has, that this project should move forward, knowing that if it does, the dollars needed for this project are going to ramp up, because what comes next is the development, actual development of the product. So business cases as justification to understand more information about the market, what would be involved in actually creating a solution for them, and then marketing it, getting it into the hands of those customers. Does it make sense for our business to do that? Is it feasibly possible for us, and a good opportunity to compare to other things that we might do with our same resources. Okay, and then if we say yes, the next stage is development. And this is everything involved in going from idea to making a real product, right? Making it tangible, or a service that we point to that we can deliver on the service. So there's some design going on here. There's some prototype working going on. If we're doing software, obviously that's taking place, software development. If we have manufacturing, that's part of this. We are getting ready to manufacture, doing the design for that, and then actually doing the manufacturing, and then preparing for what will be coming up, which is launching the product. So getting some of those resources made to go into launching, if that might involve helping sales, be prepared to position and sell the product, how we're going to attract customers and the like. The next stage is called test and validation, and this can take lots of different forms, but this is testing all aspects of the product and hopefully also our launch plans and making sure we're ready. And sometimes this can take the form of tests with actual customers, like doing a pilot project or a beta or a market test even. And there might be a refinement to the product that comes out of this, because we might find something that is actually needs to be improved before we do a wider launch to the product. Or maybe we're just kind of preparing information that will help us with the marketing if our product is in good shape, and prepare some information for when we do the next version of the product. We already have some ideas for that. But testing and validation, we don't want to launch a product that is going to be a flop. We want to understand that before we launch for sure. And hopefully we've done the work scoping up front. That won't be the case either. And then finally, the launch of the product. This is also called commercialization. This is when we make the product available, we let customers know about it, we try to grow our market share as we get it into the hands of customers over time. So classic stage gate process. And now there's been many variations of that classic process, many adaptations for different reasons, and you'll find several in literature and in practice. But probably the most popular one is Agile StageGate, and this is also known as Fast StageGate. And all we've done is we've added Agile elements to what we just described, right? So we have this in a Scrum context. We may have a backlog of work to be done. We may be executing work in sprints. And that's what this looks like for the most part to me, is doing that work in sprints. And so we just take the process that I described, each one of those stages, and now what we're doing is we're trying to deliver that work in time boxes. And the key thing about time boxes, right? Why are sprints magical? Just think about a big project that we're on. If it's a classical project management approach, if we're doing things well, at the end of that project, hopefully we're having some reflection and we're learning about what we did, and we're then applying those lessons learned to the next project and doing some sort of process improvement, right? We stopped doing the things that weren't serving us well, and we are doing those things that do help us do a better job with the project. Well, time boxes, they give us focus, right? We know during some duration, let's say it's a 2-week time box, a 2-week sprint. For those 2 weeks, we know what we're going to get done. And then that learning cycle takes place at the end of that sprint, right? We're doing that retrospective. We're doing our review of the work. We're looking at how can we work better as a team for the next one? How can we work better with our customer? Whatever elements came up that we can improve. And so our learning cycle is much faster when we're doing that sort of work in sprints. So when we look at Agile StageGate, we're just doing the work of each stage in those time boxes. We're sprintinizing, I don't know if that's a phrase, but we're adding sprints to each one of those. And we simply think about the work we have to get done. So if we know for the development cycle for a given type of project, we look at the work that needs to get done and we say, we think that we have about 10 weeks in here of development work to do. Well, if we're doing 2-week sprints, then we just break that work up into 5 sprints, and we conduct it as a Agile project. We would do the same for all the stages, right? Not just development, right? We do the same thing for scoping, the same thing for business case, same thing for launch and the like. So that's a good way to think about StageGate today, is we're adding sprints to the actual work, and that will help us have faster learning cycles and stay more focused on what needs to get done, probably resulting in getting the work done in a shorter amount of time. So wherever we put these sprints in our process, we're just breaking up the work into sprints. Okay, I want to move on to another topic that's in the process area, and that's jobs to be done. And these two approaches come from Clayton Christensen and Tony Alwick. And both approaches are super valuable. And I'm sure Clayton Christensen sounds familiar. I regard him as the father of modern innovation. He brought us disruptive innovation, a number of other innovation topics, and a lot of great research out of Harvard University. He passed away a few years ago, but him and now the team that had worked with him, great information for us as product people. And then Tony Alwick, I first discovered him through his book, Outcome-Driven Innovation, and his experience out of IBM and bringing that into understanding jobs to be done. And he has a great deal of information about jobs to be done. And the two of them actually collaborated on some things. Clayton was the one who coined the term jobs to be done. Tony added a robust set of tools for this. But they are separate approaches. It's just useful to know that and kind of why you might use one over the other one. Because we just say jobs be done, and it does mean rather different things to different people. And you may have another perspective. I'll introduce these two, and if you think I get it wrong, please feel free to reach out. I'm glad to learn more about your perspective as well. But if we're looking at the Christensen approach, the focus here is really improving a product to increase demand. When you look at the examples that come out of the Christensen approach, it's about taking something that exists now and figuring out why people are buying it and how do we get more people to buy it, right? We're trying to increase demand. The language is used in terms of we hire a product to help us do a good job. So why are we hiring the product? That's what we want to figure out, is why do people hire it? We are identifying that cause and effect relationship. What is it you want done? And is that why then are you hiring this product for that? It often uses an interview format, and jobs to be done interviews help us understand the customer's journey. What are they thinking about when they recognize they have this need, this thing they want to achieve, this job they want to get done? And then what decisions are they making? What are they encountering as they're trying to satisfy that? So it tends to be easy to understand then because of these interviews. And the interviews are really powerful. And I've been the recipient of jobs to be done interview, answering questions about them, and I've conducted them as well. And it does help us understand why, the problem a little bit better and why people are choosing certain solutions and what they need done, what they want to accomplish. And they're fun. I like doing these interviews. Tony Alwick's approach is it will result in increased demand, but he certainly wouldn't think of it that way at all. He puts the focus on creating products that people want. And consequently, the job is the focus here. In his terms, the unit of analysis is the job itself, not increasing demand. It's what is the job that people are trying to accomplish. And with that, identifying measurable outcomes is really helpful. And then traditionally, this is phrased in terms of, what can we increase that would be a positive outcome for the customer, and what can we decrease that would also create a positive outcome for the customer? I'll give you an example here in a bit. And then he uses a set of tools to create and analyze those desired outcomes, and certainly very useful tools beyond just the interview. And that tool set their tools are easy to learn, but there are more tools involved. So some people look at Tony's approach and go, oh, there's just more to do here, right? And if you ask Tony, as I have, what do you say to people that say your approach to jobs to be done is more complicated, right? And he would respond with, saying something like, it's as simple as it can be based on what we're trying to accomplish, which is an understanding of what to build for the customer that actually creates value for them, with an understanding of what is it they want to achieve, what is the job that they want to accomplish. So let's talk through some exampple here. And again, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, there's that YouTube channel that we do. So there's graphics I'm showing that might be helpful. That's just at Product Mastery Now on YouTube, so find that. But the classic example is the drill versus the hole. So Professor Levitt out of Harvard decades ago said, people don't want to buy a 1/4 inch drill. What they want is a 1/4 inch hole, right? They're trying to accomplish something. And if they need a hole, then that's the thing they're trying to accomplish. They don't care about the drill. That's just a means to getting the hole done. And we might even go further and say, well, do they actually need to create a hole, or are they trying to make a hole to put a bolt through to bind the two things together? Is there another alternative, something that might even be better than putting a hole in? Or are we trying to hang something up? Is there another way to hang something than putting a hole in the material? So we want to think about what people are trying to accomplish. That's the point. What about a vacuum cleaner, right? When I get the vacuum cleaner out and plug it in and turn it on, I'm not trying to just make a lot of noise, right? And I certainly don't buy a vacuum cleaner for that purpose. I want to clean my floors most likely, right? When I get the vacuum cleaner out and clean the carpet or clean the floors. And so that's the job. I don't care about the vacuum cleaner. How else might I get that done better? Well, the little robotic vacuum cleaner, gosh, I don't even have to get that out. I can just set a schedule up and it takes care of itself. So other ways to accomplish that job, that's how we want to start thinking, is how can we best accomplish that job? What about a map app, right? When I go to my iPhone and pull up Google Maps or Apple Maps, I'm wanting to get someplace, right? From here to someplace. And some other information is helpful. How long will it take me to get there? Am I going to run into traffic along the way? But I don't care about the map app, right? I'm not buying a map app for a map app. The job is to get someplace efficiently, right? And with some informed information. And then let's talk about electric vehicle. EVs add some interesting dimensions to help us think through, because there's always more than one context for a job. And jobs theory, especially from Tony Alwick, would help us get into this further. But there's that functional job, right? The clear thing that we're trying to accomplish, right? For the vacuum cleaner, the functional job is cleaning the floor. That's the thing. For an EV, what's the functional job? Well, sure, it's to get me from point A to point B. If I'm commuting and I need to get to work, and I'm expected to go to the office 4 days a week, right? Great commuting vehicle. That's the functional job. But why did I choose an EV over a combustion type vehicle, normal car? when the EV might have been more expensive, and why am I doing that? There's some other jobs involved there. There's probably a social job that's clear. Maybe I bought the EV because I like the way it makes me look compared to my, for my peer group, for others. I feel better knowing that they think the EV was a good choice, right? There's that social component. Maybe there's the other aspects of that, which is, I actually bought it to be frugal. It wasn't the upfront cost that was an issue, and now upfront cost, all cars are expensive at this point. But I don't spend much on operating that, right? The cost to charge it and the cost for maintenance is really low compared to my other options. So I feel good about myself because I'm smart. I'm a good shopper. I'm saving money. So there's other aspects of the jobs to think through too, that what the person's trying to accomplish. Okay. Let me give you an example and talk about job metrics a little bit. So the metrics is an expression of what do I want to get out from accomplishing the job? How do I know that by choosing some product, some outcome, some service, that indeed I have satisfied the job that I want? And as designers, as product people, how do we assess that? We need to have an understanding of what those metrics are that our customer would use to identify if this was a good solution to a job, right? If they hired the right product to satisfy the job. So in my example, I'm going to talk about the Apple iPod and broader, just MP3s in general. And this is going to take us back a bit, okay? But this stands out in my experience to me for a few reasons. But if you go back to the late 90s, yeah, that was a bit ago, there were 100 plus MP3 players on the market. There were a lot of MP3 players. For those of you that weren't around to know those things, we had many, many ways of putting music onto an MP3 player and be able to use that. My choice was the Real Sport. And the Real Sport was a kind of a small round sort of device. It kind of looked like a smaller CD-ROM. I'm sure the design aesthetic was inspired by CDs. And it was yellow and kind of this dark gray. So I liked the color. I liked the size. Came with an armband so you could wear it as I went jogging. That was great. It was rubberized. It felt rugged, looked rugged. If I dropped it, I wasn't concerned about breaking it. It was weather resistant so you could be out in the rain. And get this, it stored a little over a CD worth of music, about 2 hours worth of music on this device. That was amazing because the competition at the time to this, we came from the era of the Sony Walkman, which played cassettes, way back then to CDs. And so this was a device that was even smaller, didn't have the headaches of CD skipping and the things if you were running and jostling your CD player. And it could even store more than a CD's worth of music. Not a lot more, but maybe a CD and a half, almost 2 CDs, maybe around 2 hours. That was pretty impressive. So there were a lot of things that I liked. And if you came to me and said, well, what do you want from your MP3 player? Okay, this is always a dangerous question because when we ask a direct question like, what do you want? How can we make this better for you? You're going to get that from the perspective of the person's experience. And my experience is using this MP3 player, right? I don't have experience with others to compare it against. Even if I did, I would still be in the realm of how people currently think about MP3 players, and not really in the realm of making a design leap that creates radically new value for our customers. And so when you ask someone directly what they want, the response is usually going to be some form of, well, you could make it easier to use. You could make it faster in some sense to use. You could make it cheaper, less expensive for me. And this was the heart of my PhD dissertation I did was, how do we actually find out what people want and avoid some of the problems we encounter? And direct questions like this, not very helpful. Instead, we really want to have an understanding of how do they solve the problem they're trying to solve? How do they do that today? And what are the friction points? What are the elements of dissatisfaction? What are the challenges that they encounter solving that problem, right? When we go back to using jobs to be done language, they hired this product. I hired the Real Sport for some job. And what is that job? And what do I encounter as kind of friction points in using it? So instead, if you ask me about that, well, tell me about the last time you used your Real Sport. Okay, and I could walk through that. And then maybe you would ask some good why questions, which just means why, asking why along the way to try to understand more detail. But let's go down that path. Tell me about a time that you've used your Rio Sport, or when do you use your Rio Sport? And I would simply say, well, it usually comes off the desk or out of the drawer when I'm going to the gym, right? And so if I walked you through that process, well, I take it out when I'm going to the gym. And I want to put some music on it, and I'll look and see what's on there now. It's like, oh, I listened to that last time. I don't want to listen to that again. Because remember, it holds about a CD worth of music, so not a lot of choices. And that means I need to put new music on it. So I'll take it out, connect it to my computer, and then I need to go to my CD library, because that was my source of music, find a CD I want to listen to, and then I have to rip the CD. What a strange word. Rip the CD meant putting it into your computer and then pulling up the Rio Music Manager, and it would copy the music off the CD player, make it them MP3 files, and make them available to put onto the Rio. Fantastic, right? And then I would find out, well, because I used it last time I went to the gym, there's not enough space on the Rio for that music I want to load. So I have to go in and remove those existing songs. Then I can copy on the new songs and take it to the gym. Fantastic, right? Now I got new music on my MP3 player. Does this not sound laborious? So maybe that whole process is about 10 minutes to go through. And as we talked, you would find out, my thoughts on that process, right? And some of the friction elements and things that would obviously come up in that conversation is like, yeah, it takes a long time, longer than I want it to just select music and get it on the player, right? That's a key point of friction for me is getting music on the player. And it is limited to the CDs I already own. And so if I want to listen to something new, if I heard an ad for some music, gosh, that sounds great. I got to go buy that CD first, right? So that just slows things down a little bit. But that was kind of the state of the art at the time. That was also expected. And frankly, you would probably find out, sometimes I don't take it to the gym. It just, knowing that it's going to take me at least 10 minutes to get music on here, like it's too much trouble. I'm just going to go to the gym, get my workout in, come back and get back to work, right? And I might offer up some information just about physically using it. Like, yeah, I like it that I can put it on my arm if I'm out jogging, but it's still a little bit bigger, right? It's secure to my arm, but I feel it. I feel that weight and it moving around a little bit. And if it was smaller, that would seem like that would be convenient. And obviously, if it held more songs, if it held more songs at one time, then I would have to worry. I would have to mess so much with putting new songs on it. So lots of good things would come out in understanding how I use it and some of the challenges I run into. So, but at no point in anything I described there would you come away with understanding of what an iPod might look like or could do, right? You would get some elements of friction and you would think, oh, if we made it smaller, if it held more songs, that would be helpful. If we did something to make it easier to get the music on, that would be helpful, right? These are all things that would be design directives for now a product team to run with and figure out how can we make a better MP3 player, drastically better for a lot of people. And many of you have probably seen or watched or know of Steve Jobs' debut of the iPod, the 1,000 songs in my pocket. Just amazing notion to think about. And when I got my first iPod, it showed up in the mail, ordered it from Apple, and it was literally like getting a Christmas present. The way that is in the box and the opening experience, it was just beautiful, right? And it was a really good experience connecting to the customer and just great. And I thought, wow, this is amazing compared to what I had before, about a CD's worth, maybe 8, 12, maybe 15 songs on my Rio 3. I have 1,000 I can put on now. Just amazing. But guess what? It didn't solve my key pain point. I liked that this was a smaller, sleeker device, certainly stylish, but I still had a key pain point, and that was getting music onto the iPod wasn't particularly simple. And that's simply because I was a Windows user. Now, don't judge me, whatever side of the camp you fall on. I have been through multiple operating systems. I have been full in on Apple and full in on Windows. Today, I'm a Windows user again. It works better for all the things that I do. Nonetheless, so iTunes existed for Mac users, And the iPod was a brilliant fit, right? Seamless. But it wasn't available on Windows. Several months later, I think it was actually like an year and a half later, iTunes came out for Windows. And then, this was glorious, right? I could get music onto the iPod much easier through iTunes. And I could order, right? I could just buy music on the spot and then get it put onto the iPod. So that combination really addressed my unmet needs. It addressed the job that I was trying to get done. How can I easily put music on a portable player that I can take with me to the gym? That was it, right? And now there was a solution for that, making that easy. So when it comes to job metrics, we can think about this. And the language, it depends who you talk to, what language that they use. But the two simple metrics for this example would be decreasing the time to put music on the MP3 player. That's a significant job that I wanted in the scenario I laid out, an activity that would be important to decrease, right? This job of making it easy to put music onto a portable player to take to the gym, decreasing the time it takes to put music on the player, certainly key. And also, if we could increase the number of songs that MP3 player stored, that would provide value too, because then I would have to be putting songs on it as frequently. If I, in one swoop, could put lots of songs onto it, that would add convenience for me. So increasing the number of songs, another key job metric. Understanding those job metrics, right? I am buying this for what purpose? In my case, I want to put music onto a portable player that I can go to the gym with so I can listen to music while I'm at the gym. Listen to my music, not the music that plays over the speakers, right? And knowing that decreasing the time to get the music on and increasing the number of songs, those are key metrics that would add value in accomplishing that job for me. So that's a really quick introduction to the jobs to be done and ways to think about it. I've actually probably covered the other approach, Clayton Christensen approach, more frequently on my podcast, and have some really good interviews with practitioners that studied with Clay on that. And if you just went to the website, productmasterynow.com, click on podcast, and do a search. Search is at the bottom of the window, at least in the current version of the website. It's at the bottom of the window on jobs to be done or JTBD. You'll find some good interviews on that as well. Okay, that's enough of an introduction at this point to some of these processes. There's several processes available to us. The ones talked about in the process product mastery area, again, are StageGate, waterfall, concurrent engineering, integrated product development, agile product innovation, agile StageGate, systems engineering, design thinking, lean product innovation, lean startup, and jobs to be done, which we just covered. It'd be useful for you to just do a quick assessment, right? Just as you're listening to this now, think about what have you encountered in your organization? What have you heard about? What are the tools or frameworks or methodologies, these processes? I don't want to get hung up on the right word to use there, but what is in use in your organization to go from creating that initial idea to getting your product launched to the marketplace? And likely there's more than one of even that list that I mentioned. So most organizations will have a stage gate sort of process in place of some sort. And at the same time, they might be using something on the front end of that, the discovery area, to explore problems and develop some maybe quick prototypes of possible solutions and have a deeper understanding of what the customer needs. And so we might tackle discovery and even scoping to some extent through a design thinking sort of approach, right? Through a jobs to be done research sort of approach, right? Different things that fit in. So there's probably multiple processes in place, but that's a good application for you to just take a moment and think about what have you used and what do you see being used in your organization. And then knowing about some of the other ones, we can start asking the question, are we using what is the best fit for us? Is this efficient and effective for us? Is there something that would be a better fit? And so understanding some of the other processes available will open the door to that question and let us think through making some trade-offs. Okay, so again, the process area, I covered just a few of the processes involved that are covered in the knowledge area, and other information and examples about like using the pick and comparing those innovation models to select what is really a good fit for your organization culture and the problems you encounter. And then some feedback mechanisms to control our process development work and improve the work that we're doing. So those are all in that process knowledge area. And that process knowledge area is just one of 7. In all of product mastery, there's those 7 areas that we talk about that really do together. They help you as a product professional reach the next step of your professional journey. And certainly you have some of that knowledge already, right? I encountered this body of knowledge from PDMA when I was 10 years into creating software products for others, but did it have a framework to think through this? And these 7 knowledge areas made such a difference for me, which is why I talk about them and help others figure things out as well. And even though I had some of those pieces, there were certainly holes in my understanding, and I didn't have a clear understanding of how they related. And getting that together is really going to equip you to be more effective managing and leading product work yourself. And my training program is going to help you learn all 7 knowledge areas. It prepares you for greater success while also equipping you to earn PDMA certification. They call that the New Product Development Professional Certification, the MPDP. And I encourage you not to wait to take action on your professional development, right? Remember that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the second best time is now. And I've heard people say that, they can just wait until they need it. Like, I really don't even know what that means. I've never seen in my life an example of where that would have been true, right? That I can just wait to make my current work better. Why would I do that if I have an opportunity to make what I'm doing now better? And when the opportunities do arise for that next level of your career, you need to be ready for them at that time. So you need to do the work now to take that next step of your career. I'm so glad that I did. I wish I would have done it sooner, and that's what a lot of people say. So plant the tree today and prepare for the next step in your career by learning these 7 knowledge areas for product mastery. And for podcast listeners, I have a 30% discount for you. Many companies will reimburse you for the cost of this training, but if yours doesn't, that 30% discount certainly helps. And even if your company pays for it, all listeners to this podcast can still get that 30% discount. To find out more about this training and to buy it for yourself, simply go to productmasterynow.com/RPM. And to get the 30% discount, use coupon code PODCAST. That's just all lowercase, PODCAST, the word podcast. I have a quote to leave us with. This is from Henry Ford, and he shared that vision without execution is hallucination. Once again, that's vision without execution is a hallucination. And I think about this in the terms of process that we just talked about, right? Having the right process, the correct process, is how we can effectively execute on our ideas and turn them into something that creates value for our customers. That's what we want. We need to take action, and a process helps us know what steps to take to deliver on that vision and make it real. Once again, everyone, appreciate you being here. Keep innovating.
Thank you for listening to Product Mastery Now, where product leaders and managers gain product mastery through practical knowledge, influence, and confidence. By listening, you are becoming a product master, creating products customers love. Find additional resources at productmasterynow.com. Keep innovating.